So pretty much just to give you like a rundown of how I'm like gonna do this more or less. So I've been going through like people in the shoe, fashion, sneaker industry pretty much. And yesterday I had my third one with this guy who's local. So I'm from New Orleans. So there's a guy local to New Orleans. He's more of a collector. So I kind of got his aspect and his take on the shoes. And he gave me some really interesting stuff. So obviously he wasn't a reseller and he was focusing more on the collecting part. So I'm just going through like you, I know is more of a reseller. How old are you, if
Yeah.
you don't mind me asking?
I'm sorry, what? How old am I?
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking.
Oh, yeah, I'm 17.
Yeah, see, I'm 17 as well. So just getting like different people. He was like 30, so obviously different age groups. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. So obviously I want the conversation to flow. If I need to ask questions just to like keep it going, I will. But yeah. So if you could just give your like basics, like what's your name, like where you're from, when did you start reselling, just whatever you think is necessary.
Yeah, my name's Jack. I'm from Connecticut, and I just I've always wanted to resell, but I've only been able to since like early last year, maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
That's
Sweet.
when I started.
So going off of that a little bit, so like what was you said you always knew you wanted to resell, kind of like was that since like sixth grade or something that like you just saw a
Yeah,
shoe?
like when I was really younger, I'd watch a lot of YouTube. You'd see all these people like they got like Supreme on like 2017 Hypebeast era. I always wanted to be a part of it, but I was young, so I didn't have that much money or anything. I didn't have the resources. So when I first got my like debit card and I could start reselling and stuff, that's the first thing I started doing.
Nice. So like when you got into this, were you more focused onto like Supreme or were you more like the fashion or were you looking at the shoes?
I was really into shoes and fashion at first. Like when I first started getting a little bit of money, I would be on Grailed all the time, just looking for stuff to buy for myself. And then after a while, I was like, yo, I got to start making some money from this because I got to like sustain myself. So that's when I started really mainly focusing on Supreme. Like I would go for like sneakers drops and stuff, but you can't really hit on those. So
Yeah.
I was really making a lot off Supreme because it was just easier to get.
Okay. So like the box logos and all that type of stuff you were focusing on.
Yeah, like every week I'd always be getting whatever was hype dropping.
Nice. So like what was your first shoe or first piece of clothing that kind of like made you realize, oh wow, this is actually profitable. I can sustain it and make money off of it.
Yeah, I would always join sneakers raffles and drops, but the first one I won was for the Union Dunk Low, the passports,
Mm.
and I
Mhm.
made like $100 off that, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I started selling some of my older clothes back on Grailed, and I was making some profit because I would get some pretty good deals before then. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just start doing this. And
Nice.
that's when I sort of hopped on the buying Supreme for retail, yeah.
Just kind of like random, but like were you focused specifically on Supreme or were you looking at like Chrome Hearts and like I don't know too much about fashion. Like I'm in the
Yeah.
shoe world. I don't really do that stuff.
I mean, I would wanna get shoes, like, I would go for all the hype drops, but, like, it's so hard to hit raffles. Supreme was kinda, like, my only option 'cause, it was pretty easy for me to hit, like, just manually cop, and I was making some good money off that for a while,
That's good.
and I still do, yeah.
Um, so like for you specifically, how do you keep informed? Like, how do you know? Obviously, there's shock drops, there's all of that, but Supreme's more like,
Yeah.
so like, how do you get your information? I guess is my question.
Well, at first, I started just from just like anyone else, I would follow, like, Instagram pages, like, that keep you updated, and there's really good resources out there, like Supreme Community, and I mainly use, SwiftSole for my information, but yeah. That's how I keep updated.
And then when you get like your Supreme stuff, is it like an instant flip or do you kind of hold and wait for it? Especially like, I know Supreme's more or less dead right
Yeah.
now during stuff, but
Yeah.
a few years ago, were you holding it or were you selling it instantly?
For me, I like just from what I can tell, it's best to sell it even before you get it. Like right when you cop the item at 11, the price is highest right after the drop. Once everyone starts getting their items in, like the price will go down to probably close to retail payout. So I'll have whatever I cop sold within like maybe an hour after drop. I won't even have the item yet,
So is
and
it
I'll usually
local
have it
sales
sold.
or is it more online like Grailed, StockX?
Yeah, mainly like Grailed and like eBay, where you can just post a picture of your receipt and then you'll get that sale.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always, for some reason, for shoes at least, like I always wait until I get it, and then I realize I like lost out on $100. It just sucks. But yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely something I learned afterwards. Like, I remember someone telling me, I was like, yeah, the price always drops after like a few days after drop because people start getting their items in. I was like, yo, that makes so much sense.
yeah, I learned that the hard way, but it's okay. We bounce back. Um, so for Supreme at least, how do you like especially in the last year, how did you realize like this box logo is better than this particular box logo? Because like I feel like everything more or less was not making that much money. So how did you decide
Yeah.
on what was the right thing to buy?
Definitely not always. I don't always make the best decisions. I've definitely copped some bricks in the past that have costed me a little. But mainly, I think the best way to think about it is like to think about what the people want, like how wearable something is or how like the history behind it that really determines its resale value to people.
Okay. So when was this kind of switch towards Supreme to sneakers? Or was there a switch or was it kind of like consistent throughout?
Um, I think a big switch was last last season on Supreme, or maybe it was 2 seasons ago. They released the Dunks, the Supreme Dunks. I was able to manual cop both pairs, both colorways, and that really like jump started my way into selling sneakers. Cause after that, I hit on a few more raffles, and I was selling a lot of sneakers for a while.
So you're still doing sneakers or have you kind of like pushed
Yeah.
away from so you've pushed away from Supreme or are you still doing that?
No, I'm on everything Supreme sneakers, but Supreme recently, like, there's a lot less profitable items, so I'm really looking for other things to cop.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely.
So for shoes at least, are you also doing platforms or is it or have you like do you think you've grown enough of a Instagram following to sell on there?
Definitely not, but I'm hoping one day. Normally, I'll post everything on my Instagram, but I'll maybe get like one sale for every like 20 items I post or like 10 items I post. It's definitely not that frequent, but yeah, it's always easier when it's off Instagram or something because then you get the money instantly. You don't have to pay fees. Just
Right.
super easy.
So how do you think that like is it sorry, is it only you doing it, or do you have like friends that you can always call up and say, oh, like another reseller you can always go up to and say, take this for like $100 and you get an instant like $10 profit, or is it kind of just you navigating around the industry?
Nah, it's really just me. Like, if something's not selling well, I'll probably just hold it. The price will always go up. Normally, it will go up, so I'll usually just hold it. But more recently, what I've been doing for money, just more profitable than anything, is I've been really offering. Like, I always post daily that I'm buying, so people hit me up to sell. Like, if they need money or something, I can usually take off a bunch of items from them for super cheap, and then you can sell it for a little under market really fast. So
Yeah,
that's what I find recently working well.
that's good. Um, I think this actually fits into both. Like, this is more of like a supreme question. So, how do you think the hype plays a part in all these releases? So, like, obviously, I think what it was like 2 weeks ago. There's a Futura drop with Supreme. I mean, that's super hype. But then again, the resale wasn't. It was if
Yeah.
so. Like, when does it? Where do you think it gets to the point where hype doesn't really matter at that level?
Um, well, there's a lot of factors that play into something reselling, especially stock numbers and stuff. The Futura box logo, I definitely took a hit on that because I
Yeah.
did think it was going to do well, but I ended up buying like 9 t-shirts. I sold some of them for above market, but I'm still holding like 4 or 5 left.
And you still,
But yeah, for
okay.
that especially, I think like the box logo hype has just died down a ton.
Just to get your opinion, I think I'm buying one. Do you think I saw that Shanghai store is really opening up and they always have their like release day special. How do you think
Mhm.
that's gonna do? Like, just curious. What's your thoughts on that?
It's gonna do really well. I mean, it's gonna be just like the Supreme. I think they opened a store in like Korea last year. I mean, the opening box logo, it resold really well. Personally, I'm lucky enough that I'm probably gonna be able to get some because I'm actually Chinese and I have some relatives that live down there. So I'm
Actually,
pretty
dude,
much, yeah,
I might need to hit you up soon. I actually really want that box logo. Um,
yeah, I'm gonna definitely have all the opening day stuff.
dude, that's hype. That's really good. Um, so kind of like you mentioned that having a community and having an Instagram following is always good, and you kind of find it a little tough given that for every 10 postings you maybe get plus or minus one sale. So like how
Yeah.
important do you think is or do you think you've been able to overcome a lot of these, I guess, these problems and these setbacks? Do you generally think you've been able to do like overcome them?
Yeah, I think so. You just have to come up with ways to really promote yourself. And I find the best way to do that for myself personally is all these big pages with like thousands and thousands of followers that do drop releases. Like they'll usually have a pay gate for like shock drop times. So, I'll all caps go into the comments and comment like, yo, follow me. I got the times for free. Check me out. And then that's how really I gain all my following, just from commenting on these bigger pages.
That makes sense, yeah. Um, so what do you think was out of all the shoes, all the Supreme items you've sold, what do you think was or what was the one that was like, oh wow, that I just made like $1,000 off this or something?
Oh, man. Probably, I don't know if it's the most I made, but definitely the most memorable was when I hit on the Supreme Dunks. I mean, that was like probably the most hype release of all of last season, and I copped it for retail, and I ended up selling it for way above market. I sold it to someone for like it was off-site. I sold for 350 cash plus a trade, and I got a pair of Bape studs in the trade, and I sold those for like 200. So I ended up getting 550 for it.
It's insane. The market's like 330 right now too. That's crazy.
Yeah. Even, like, in-store, like, sneaker stores, they're charging, like, 400, so definitely my most memorable
Yeah, that's a
sell.
con. Um, you were talking about like the Futura box logo and stuff. So like how do you decide when to sell almost? Like you've been holding the shirt for say hypothetically you were holding that shirt for 6 months and market's more or less not changed. Like when do you realize, okay,
Yeah.
I can take a loss on this and just get my money back or keep holding?
Yeah, for sure, like, I still right now, I believe that market's gonna bounce back up. Like, if you hold it for long enough, I think the market will come back up. But right now, that market is definitely tough, and I'm definitely fighting the urge to just, like, sit on lowest ask on StockX and just take it.
Right.
But for me personally, I've sold the majority and I've made back some of my money, and also on that week 1 order, I got lucky. They were giving out the free straws as
Hmm.
the gift, and I ended up getting, a straw on, like, 9 out of 10 of my orders, and I sold each one of those straws for $10, so I really recouped some of my money, so I'm okay with holding the box logos I have left.
Well, that's good. So how did you get 10? Because if you're going manual, how does that work? Or do you buy it?
I actually don't have any, I'm buying and my mom's buying. I put my mom on Supreme, she'd be copping for me, but I just, I I'll buy one and I'll go back and I'll buy another one. It ended up taking like 2, 3 minutes to sell out, so I ended up getting like multiple checkouts just by myself.
And they didn't cancel orders, you had different stuff, or was it the same?
Nah, they didn't cancel any orders.
Oh, yeah. It's like, so from the last like couple of years from when you started or since you've been start watching those YouTube videos, how do you
Yeah.
think the market's more or less changed in the sense like Supreme obviously kind of downhill, but shoes on
Mhm.
the other hand have been obviously a little downhill recently, but they've been fluctuating a lot more than Supreme. So like what are your thoughts on that and what's your like future prediction on what'll happen for both?
I mean, I don't know about future, but right now, definitely you can see the market is definitely more down because like a few years ago, there's only a few. really hype. Like it's always Nike, it's always um Adidas or Yeezy. But right now, especially like see these new markets coming up like New Balance and Asics that are selling arguably better than some hype dunks that are coming out. So I've definitely been really trying to tap into that market.
Yeah. And then Supreme, what are your thoughts on that for at least the next couple months?
Um definitely the market's definitely gone down, but I think once in a while if there's a really good piece, it'll still do well.
So, do you think Supreme will like in my eyes, from what I've seen, Supreme has only like killed it when you've had I'm not including like Louis Vuitton or any of those class, but like Nike.
Mhm.
It seems to be like Supreme Nike always has like with those dunks, instant like $50 over retailer. It's like really good profit, but like everything else, I mean, doesn't seem to be doing great. So do you think Nike hype is dying down or actually like increasing almost?
Man, that's tough. I think like just general Supreme pieces, a lot of people just don't really care about anymore. But when you put like Supreme and Nike together, I don't know, people probably just want that more, especially like I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, they dropped the Air Max DN with Supreme and it
Mhm.
sold out in like I think it's like 100 over retail, the market was.
That wasn't even a good looking shoe, was it? Or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah. It was really overhated. Everyone was saying they didn't want it and it ended up doing really well. So
That's like so
yeah,
random. You would think the opposite, to be honest.
yeah.
Let me see. I think we went through most of what I was wanting to get through, but let me see. Oh, do you have like it's not gonna happen. Do you have certain pieces or shoes or anything that were like that you think about reselling but then decided to keep because they were like a that cool or that memorable or anything? Anything like comes to mind?
Um, yeah, this probably like I saw this was last year. It was a Palace CP Company collab, and in the trailer video, there's this one hat that has goggles on the back, and I was like, yo, I really want this hat. I'm gonna really tune into the retail drop, and I ended up seeing the retail, and the retail was like 200 for a hat, and I was like, yo, I can't do this. And I ended up having a Supreme jacket. It was like a Gore-Tex jacket, and someone offered me to trade that hat brand new for the jacket, and I didn't really like the color of the jacket. I didn't really wear it that much, but I ended up trading it, and I sort of regret that just because trading a jacket for a hat, but so far I haven't sold the hat. I haven't even worn it. I don't think I've worn it even a single time, but I just like it.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. For that person who traded, so was that when you like commented under some big post or like how did you get access to that person? Or how did you
That
find
was That was actually I had that jacket posted on Grailed, and then
Mhm.
someone hit me up for the jacket. No, I hit someone else for the hat, like, I probably lowballed them for their hat, and they're like, "Yo, I like that jacket on your page, let's take this off-site," you know? And then once you're off-site, you're like, "We can get this happening."
Right. And do you run GUA or is it kind of like you trust the other person or how does that work from your end? Or how did that trade work at least?
Um, Trades are definitely tough, especially when you have to, like, ship at the same time, but we ended up doing, I think the trade was, like, he would give me the hat plus some cash, so he gave me the cash, and then we're on, like, FaceTime, and we both shipped it at the same time.
Yeah, like, that's a good way to do it. At least I
Yeah,
always have trouble with that. Like it's such a pain in the ass because I've had so many deals that just
yeah.
don't happen because of it. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Um, do you consider yourself more of a collector or a reseller? Like kind of in this, at least right now, or where do you see yourself going?
Um, I want to focus on reselling, but it's really hard. Like sometimes I'll buy a piece to resell, and then when I get it in hand, I'm like, damn, I just want to keep it. And sometimes I'll keep it. I've definitely kept a lot of pieces that I was planning on reselling. But for me personally, I think I'm gonna at least try to lean more towards the reselling side, just to focus on building up more money, and then
Right.
eventually I'll probably just collect a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I think we went through everything, dude. Like Yeah, that was good though. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Awesome.
Yeah, of course. I
I need
love
to hit
talking
you up.
about
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just love talking about clothing and stuff. It's not like really um frequent for me because I live somewhere like in Connecticut. Like nobody even heard of Supreme. They don't even know what it is. Most people like when I go to school and stuff. So yeah, this doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah. I hope this was good for you. Hope it was
Yeah.
worth it at least. But yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, I need to hit you up for that Supreme. I'll DM you later. I need that
All right,
Supreme.
bet.
You better not be taxing on it. That's for sure. Better not be taxing. All right. I
I'll have
appreciate
to
it.
see market. All right, you
All right.
too.
Be
Thank you.
good.